What's going on, guys? This is Miasin and welcome to OCG Metagame Breakdown number 1 and 2. So this one is actually really big because I believe it is covering the decks that are going to Worlds, or maybe it's just like the other reports like that, because we can actually see on Road of the King every deck that people played in Japan and stuff like that in order to qualify for Worlds. There's also replays that you can find on YouTube pretty easily, honestly. One of the guys was able to top with like Synchron and stuff like that, another one with Purely. Actually, a lot of people qualified for Worlds with Purely. In the OCG world only, though, because in the TCG was mostly Kashtira. But yeah, this is going to be covering 76 top-performing decks, Jesus, from 36 tournaments that were held in a bunch of OCG countries during the span of approximately 2 weeks. So definitely a big sample size, and also very relevant for us in the TCG, because we can actually analyze what they are playing right now in order to have a better idea of what's to come in a couple of weeks when we will be getting Duelist Nexus. Anyways, before this video starts, you already know the drill. Friendly reminder to smash the like and subscribe button, and now let's get right into it. Actually, I just want to say one thing, by the way. In case you are wondering, why is the background different? It's because I'm not at home. I'm actually in vacation in Switzerland, and I will be going in Germany in a couple of days. That's why I'm not really, in my own basement with all the lights and everything. No, unfortunately not. Which is also the reason, by the way, why I'm using this garbage microphone, so I'm really sorry for the audio. It's absolute dog shit. Anyways, the best deck is Tearlaments, which makes sense because they still have like so many ways of getting their engine. They still have Chaos Ruler, so the punk cards are actually doing something, and one Xiamen can mill like 20 cards because they have that, and they have Zombie Vampire, and they can keep summoning more monsters after that. It's ridiculous. But yeah, after that we got Labyrinth, which is also really good. Everything is at full power in Labyrinth except for Skill Drain or something, but who cares? They don't even need to play Skill Drain. The deck is already good enough to have the Virus, I think, but I don't know if people are playing them. They suck, right? But yeah, the deck also doesn't really lose too much to Maxi. It's a trap deck, so why would it lose to Maxi? Rescue Ace, another deck that doesn't lose to Maxi. It's literally the best mid-range deck in the game right now. Really good deck. If you don't know how to beat Rescue Ace, you're always going to be losing against them. It's really that good. Anyways, after that we got Branded. Again, very good deck. It's pretty much at full power because all they have less would be like one Branded Fusion, but it doesn't really matter because they still have Branded Expulsion, so they can access their Gimmick Puppet Nightmare way quicker. Purely insane deck, but they do have only one Sleepy Memory, but it's not enough to nerf it. Adamantipator, the deck got nerfed a little bit because of the Super Heavy Samurai package. Dinosaur, Unchained, this deck got so much better. It's like definitely viable right now. Dragon Link, Math Mech, very good deck as well, but it got nerfed with one Circular, I think. Sprite, Tri Brigade, Hero, Magician, Runic. Okay, wow. Even though there's only one Runic Fountain, I think Fountain went to one, I forgot, but I'm pretty sure he got like murdered. Sky Striker, Beat Trooper, Exorcister, Marincess, Mekenko, Necroface, bruh. Phantom Knight, Salamangrate, Rika. So weird because it's so good in the TCG, but for some reason in the OCG nobody wants to play the deck. Super Heavy Samurai, Synchron, someone went to Worlds with that deck, like I said, it's crazy. Tenyi Sword Soul, they have Protoss. Virtual World, Plunder Patrol Brave. Blackwing, very interesting. Branded Chimera, so that's the new Illusionist deck from, not Duelist Nexus. Yeah, Duelist Nexus actually. Chaos Bestial Galaxy Eyes getting better and better. Dragma and Dragma Invoked, Draco Slayer, Evil Eye, Red Dragon Archfiend, and oh my god, this is so disappointing. Scareclaw Mana Dome should be so much better, but for some reason, only one person was able to top with it. That's just so sad, because the deck is honestly really insane, but it does lose to Maxi, so I guess that makes sense. Spellbook, Draco Slayer, and Endymion Zephyra, Super Heavy Samurai Prank Kids, Trap Tricks, Tri Brigade Lyrilusk, and Vanquish Soul. This is like the biggest disappointment because the deck got way better with a new level 5 fire monster. I think it's level 5, but yeah, nobody's playing it. Well, I mean, nobody's playing the deck, which is way worse. But it makes sense because why would you play that garbage, not garbage, but that worst mid-range deck when you can play Rescue Ace? Infinitely better, way more simple, and you can actually get like a bunch of negates with only one card. Anyways, Tearlaments. So exactly as I said, one single Xiamen can get you really far, allowing you to mill like 20 cards or something, and even playing like Hell Shuttle Hollow, to mill even more cards. Now, what is interesting about the OCG is, first of all, they have a lot of cards that we don't have, so Chaos Ruler, Fairy Tail Snow, but they're also playing a bunch of cards that we don't play, and we are playing cards that they don't play. So they're playing Foolish Goods, we don't play that, we play Foolish Burial instead, the regular one. They have one Field Spell, we have 3, and they have only one Reno Heart, but the deck, for some reason, is still doing infinitely better over there in the OCG. I guess Chaos Ruler really just is that good. But another really important criteria is the fact that they don't have Kashtira, whereas in the TCG we had Kashtira running around for way too long, and that deck is like a hard counter to this deck. And also Shifter is a 3 in the TCG, Shifter is only a 2 in the OCG. And a bunch of decks don't really lose to Shifter in the OCG, like I guess Purely kind of loses to Shifter. Rescue Ace doesn't care at all, like it really doesn't care about the graveyard. The cards can get banished and your field spell can still recycle them back, so it really just doesn't change anything to your life. And then for the extra deck, I mean, yeah, this is really nasty. I mean, I'm pretty sure I played something almost identical to this at YCS Rio last year. And it was one of the nastiest decks I've ever touched in my life. It was so beautiful. Oh my god. Yeah, I love the Punk Tearlaments. It's take me back to those good old days, but with one Kid Kalos, please. That card is never getting unbanned, unfortunately. But yeah, all hail Tearlaments. And then for the side deck, even more hand traps. So the Bestial monsters are all limited outside of Saronir. Saronir is at 3 still. And Despia can actually play 3 Saronir, which is relevant because it actually does something when it's sent to the graveyard. But yeah, nothing else that is worth mentioning. Labyrinth, on the other hand, is not what you're used to seeing in the TCG, so a lot of things are different. First of all, this build is playing Ariana, which is pretty much like a tour guide if you can send like a normal trap card from your hand or field to the grave. Field, I don't know, but hand at least. And yeah, it's not really worth playing, honestly. But this trap card right here, Transaction Rollback, is relatively new, actually, and it has a really insane effect. You can copy a normal trap card in your graveyard, the effect of that, so it's really nasty, and also the graveyard effect is the exact same as its on-field effect, if I recall correctly, and you have to pay half of your life points, that's it, but it doesn't really lock you under anything. The card is honestly absolutely disgusting. I'm gonna make a full video on it. And this is really heavy on the furnitures, but not really heavy on the hand traps. 3 Ash, 3 Maxi, 3 Imperm, which is like pretty much the bread and butter, but this deck doesn't even have to play Ash because you don't really have to negate Maxi with the Ash. So this card's not even worth playing, but if it's good against the rest of the meta, you might as well. And also no Bestials in the side deck, which is interesting. I would be playing 1 Magnemite to 1 Druidworm instead of the 2 DD Crows, might as well at this point. But I guess this just covers more ground, but in a weaker way. And then the Shizu monster, so a lot of redundancy, but it makes sense again. If you draw an Shizu monster with either Chandra or Stovey, it's a triple DD Crow. Well, I mean, a DD Crow that shuffles back 3 cards. It's really disgusting. And then 3 Kuklok is also a way you can play on turn 0. So that and the hand traps and siding so many hand traps. Even siding the field spell instead of main decking it. Only 1 spell card because Prosperity is at 1 in the OCG, which to be fair, I can agree with. Let me know your thoughts, by the way, if you think Prosperity should be at 2 or 1 in the TCG as well. And also Foolish Burial Goods in the side deck is very interesting, but it makes sense because of Transaction Rollback, because otherwise you would never want to play Foolish Goods in Labyrinth. It's not like you can really dump any of those cards and get that much advantage off of them. So yeah, and then Rescue Ace, I'm not gonna go over that too long because it's completely different from what we could be doing in the TCG because this deck doesn't really exist yet. And it does, but it's so garbage because we don't have Emergency and Preventers, so why would you play this deck right now? But they have Auroradon, so the existence of Olion and Jet Synchron are both justified, whereas you would never want to do that in the TCG, like I said, because Auroradon is not a thing, so it's not like you can play these tuners in order to summon any Synchro monsters, but off of like a few extenders, well, I mean, their starter and a few extenders, they can go into Dragster and Savage, or Baron and Herald of Arclight, and get 2 negates on top of their Turbulence Resolving guaranteed. And this is one of the cleanest and most minimalistic deck lists I've seen in a while, really beautiful to look at. 3 Turbulence, 3 Preventer, 3 Era Hoster, 3 Hydrant, no level 3 guy, no level 6 Fire Attacker, and the other random bullshit monster. This is really simple and clean, I absolutely love it. 3 Small World is on top of that in order to search your starters every single time. Which I just absolutely love. And no field spell. Very shocking, but also makes sense. But it gives you... The field spell gives you an infinite grind game. You can always recycle back your cards, but you don't really need a grind game when you're just playing a deck with, you know, a bunch of synchro options so that you just straight up kill your opponent at the speed of light. So I can agree with that. But yeah, overall, I really, really like this deck list. Really combo. It feels really combo-y and not really mid-rangey, honestly, because again, missing the field spell, so you're not really recycling back much. But to be fair, I do believe that there is the graveyard effect of Emergency to recycle back something, or maybe not Emergency, but another one, and a trap card that you can banish to get back a spell, but I don't think it's part of this deck list. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Anyways, very good deck list. And again, this deck doesn't lose to Shifter, so it is side decking Shifter with Gamma, and I think this is Delta. I don't know if it's Epsilon, but yeah, Delta is the one that negates spell cards, Epsilon negates trap cards. So if you're playing Gamma and some other Cypher monsters, it could make sense to play them in your side deck. And yo, that's like 9 hand traps or something with this. Oh my god. And a Kaiju and Duster and Lightning Storm. The Kaiju is searchable by Small World, so all you need is 1 Kaiju and you're fine, and then you can out Experience Noir. So this deck list is just, oh my god, I absolutely love it. I think I would play something like that if we had it in the TCG, but we just can't, unfortunately. It really reminds me of Synchron Eldritch from back in the days, but that wasn't really fun. Anyways, Despia. So they only have 1 Brand Diffusion, but and who cares, right? You can still search it with like a Luber and Branded Opening, which is also at 1. So yeah, consistency issues can kind of be annoying, especially since every single Despia deck list is always way above 40. For some reason, like the deck can already break, but why not make it break even more, right? 3 Nadir Servant, so that you never summon from your extra deck. Very interesting. With 2 targets, too. In the TCG, if you do that, you get bullied. Same thing with like High Spirits and stuff like that. These cards are not bad, but like, I don't know, Nadir Servant into Kashtira, like a Kashtira format, is not really worth it, but if there's no Kashtira running around, Nadir Servant is like one of the best cards in your deck, so it should be in your deck list. So I want to say in the OCG format, this is 100% correct. A lot of hand traps for a Despia deck, but it makes sense again because you want to play Ash so that you can negate it with Crossout, and you can also negate Max C. You want to play Max C so that you can negate it with Crossout, and again, same thing with DD Crow and Ghost Bell. It's just that there are cards that are really good against Branded in red and Branded Expulsion, and if your opponent can negate your God cards, you lose the game. So yeah, Call by the Grave might not be enough, Crossout might be necessary. The extra deck is not playing Despia and Lulu Walilith, so it's playing straight up 15 fusion monsters. So yeah, if you get hit by an Ibli or something, it's gonna be really rough for you. Yeah, at least play like a Dark or something, but yeah, if you summon a Dark, then you can't go into Brand Diffusion, so it makes sense. I think you can go Nadir Servant, Elder Entity, Entis, destroy your own Ibli, but then you pretty much have to pass turn doing nothing. Or you can Tribute Summon a Bestial Monster on top of Ibli. It's like pretty much one of your only outs, honestly. And again, the side deck completely different from what we have here in the TCG. They still have 3 Appointer of the Red Lotus, which is stupid. This card is unfair. And citing 2 Herald of the Abyss in the TCG, people were only really playing Xyz on core, not really this card. But it makes you play into like summon limit and stuff like that because you're summoning monsters to your opponent's board, but it still count as your summons, so that under the resolution your opponent can like flip summon limit, and you're gonna be really screwed. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Despia. And now for Purely, again, completely different because we have the ratios reversed over here in the TCG with 1 Delicious, 3 Sleepy, but Sleepy actually got way better because now there is a target for it in the form of E Purely Noir, which can fetch your trap cards. Now, because of the fact that it's just at 1, people kind of struggle at searching the trap, so they're maxing out on the trap, which is Purely Yeep. The Purely Shirley is not really good, so people are not playing it whatsoever. But yeah, this card allows you to cheat out Experience Noir really quickly, and you also don't really lose to hand traps too much, but you might actually lose out to like Book of Moon and stuff like that, so do keep that into consideration. But yeah, really nasty deck list again. 2 Desires with Prosperity, very consistent. This is going to be making up for the lack of draws that you would be getting with Sleepy, because you know, being able to draw like 6 cards on your opponent's standby phase, not really fair, honestly, but being able to not do that and only maybe drawing like 2 cards is a little more reasonable for the deck, and that's the reason why this card absolutely has to get limited in the TCG as well. Anyways, the extra deck is whatever. I think everybody kind of understands what the deck does at this point. But the ratios are, again, much different in the TCG because we only have 1 Delicious, so why would you play 2 Plumps? I mean, you could, but whatever. Yeah, I mean, you might as well because you can recycle back the Delicious and then summon it again. Not too bad. Anyways, the side deck, again, also very nasty because the deck doesn't care too much about the normal summon, so Sphere Mode is really disgusting. And then Ghost Bell for a couple of decks. Could be decent against Despia and Tearlaments, or like Math Mech and stuff like that. But yeah, Bestials are also really good, and nobody's playing Bestials. I don't know why. It's just so good. Like, people are playing DD Crew and Bell, but never Bestials. Man, it's weird. It's not like it's good against Rescue Ace because it doesn't do anything against them. But yeah, Dimension Fisher, pretty much another insta-win card if you draw it going first. because it only affects the monsters from the field to the grave, but not really like from anything from the hand or deck to the grave. And it's not like a Macrocosmos either. It only affects monsters, not spells and traps, and your spells really have to go to the grave, but the monsters, not necessarily. You could care less about them. And yeah, Forbidden Droplet and Talents, again, for breaking boards going second. This deck is not losing any games going second. Absolutely not. And going first, man, you're making Esprit Noir and you're destroying absolutely everything in your path. But yeah, in conclusion, this format is completely different from the last one, but it's still really diverse. Instead of having Rescue Ace as the best deck, we have Tearlaments as the best deck, and we also have Labyrinth as a strong contender as the second place. Rescue Ace is still at the top, of course. I mean, the deck is really just that good with the new support. Again, 2 cards, Rescue Ace Preventer, which is a Book of Moon, as well as the Emergency, which is an emergency teleport, actually. But it does a little more than that. It's better than emergency teleport. Branded, of course, obviously, because they still have Gimmick Puppet Nightmare with Branded Expulsion, Purely, etc. But Super Heavy Samurai and Adamantipator are down because they used to be a little better, but I think Super Heavy Samurai, the engine, got a big nerf, and Block Dragon went to 2, but nobody cares about that. It's completely irrelevant. So yeah, that's it for this OCG metagame breakdown report. I really hope you guys were able to enjoy and learn a thing or two. Let me know your thoughts about the OCG format in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.